welcome in to the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Johnny Venerable, Bo Brock, a loaded post-Monday talk show following the 2023 NFL Draft. And Bo, I mean, this team, they came up aces, and it all started with the 6th overall pick in Paris Johnson Jr.
Yeah, what Monti Ossenfort was able to do, it was masterful, navigating the top of that draft, trading out of 3 down to 12, and then having the foresight, feeling the pulse of this draft, knowing that he had to go back into the top 10 to 6th overall to get his guy, the tackle out of Ohio State, Paris Johnson Jr. It's exciting. We talked to Paris Johnson the next day. Just an incredible kid, not only on the field, but off the field, philanthropic. He's got his own foundation. He speaks 3 languages. And, oh, yeah, he's nearly 6'7", and he's going to be able to protect Kyler Murray's blind side for the foreseeable future.
Yep, and we are immense pleasure to be joined by Paris Johnson Jr.'s position coach at The Ohio State University, Mr. Justin Frye. So kind with his time to be able to hop on with Bo and I today. And, Justin, I say every year, I'm like, can the Cardinals please just draft blue chip players from blue chip franchises and programs collegiately like Ohio State? And every year they're going small school, right? And they're trading up for tweener linebackers. And then this year, thankfully under Monti Ossenfort, they don't screw around, right? They pick up the phone. They say, we're taking this 6'6" mammoth of a man to kick off the rebuild in Paris Johnson Jr. What can you tell us about a kid that the more we hear of him, the more special of the player and the human being?
Yeah, well, you touched on all of it. He's one of those guys where you hear all these good things off the field. You know, his foundation, how he works, how he graduated in 3 years, and you're waiting on a flaw, and it just doesn't exist with him. I mean, he's a great kid, comes from a great family. His mom, Monica's a rock star, so he was brought up that way, and then that oozed onto the field. So generally you have guys on the field where they do a lot of great stuff. He's a great player, but you get these boxes checked off where they may be missing a thing or two. It's the opposite with him. Everything you want, those intangibles he has, and then on top of it, when he's on the field, he was the hardest practicing guy we had. He was in there watching tape. You know, you don't watch extra film. You watch tape until you get it. And so for him, he was just watching tape, and it consumed him because he wanted to be great. He wanted to be a top 10 pick. He wanted to be graduated in 3 years, and he's one of those guys that says he wants to do it, and then he works that way. And it was really fun to be around for the year.
He certainly just kind of fits the mold of what Jonathan Gannon and what Monti Ossenfort are looking for in the future Arizona Cardinals player. Can you kind of identify it? Gannon described it as guys with high capacity and high character. I would say that Paris falls into both those categories.
Yeah, I mean, A+ on both. You know, I get a lot of draft grades, and there's a lot of draft gurus and people out there after. So you can check those boxes, like I said, with him. And his best ball's ahead of him. I mean, if you just look at his career and what he's done, I mean, he played guard the year before. We move him out to tackle, and week by week, he just got better and better and better. So the understanding of being out on an island on your own sometimes, the technique, the scheme that comes with it, he got better and better as the year went on. So, I mean, you're not getting a guy that's a ready-made product. You're getting a great guy that's a great player that his best ball's ahead of him because he's now going to be in that league. He's going to be protecting a franchise quarterback. He's going to have a lot on his shoulders, and he's a driven guy where he's going to go do that. He's going to find a way to do that.
Justin, we talked about it on this show that this was not just another top 10 draft pick for this franchise. This was the first pick of the Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon era. And so that pick, whomever it may be, needed to exemplify what they want. And they kept talking about the person, the character, right? And somebody that can come in and lead by example. How quickly, in your opinion, I know he's a young kid, but he's coming into a very impressionable locker room that could change seemingly every month, right? With the rebuild that's going on with the Arizona Cardinals. When can you expect for Cardinal fans to be able to look on the field and this kid's got, a center or a C on his chest for captain, and he's leading this team as one of the focal points, pillars of the franchise?
I mean, as soon as the team gets around him, they're going to feel that because, like I said before, he practices so hard. He's in the locker room and he's in every corner, whether it be the skill guys, the specialists, the O-line, the D-line, the linebackers. Being around those guys, people gravitate towards, people like him, but then especially Paris because once again, circling back, all the things that he really says and that is out there is what he does. And so when guys see a guy that practices that hard, they see a guy that is that important to, they see a guy with that juice and energy on the field, in individual and team periods, and a blitz pickup, it's almost palpable with him sometimes, and so that's the thing with, you get, grown men in a locker room that are all fighting for the same thing to hoist up the Lombardi trophy, that they're going to want that leading the charge with him really quick. So I see that coming sooner rather than later.
3 really impressive players coming out of off your offensive line, getting their name called in the draft. Congratulations on that. But when you look at Paris Johnson, like, he stands out still, even with the impressive athletes that came from your program, even this last class. We look at his feet. Have you been taken back at how quick his feet is? It's almost like he's got skill position player feet, and he's playing the offensive tackle position.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. I tried recruiting him to UCLA when I was out there, and I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate I didn't get him, but I got to finish his career with him. That was always something that was, you look for base, spin, balance, and bursts in great offensive linemen. That's how we evaluate them. That's how we've always been around them. And so the elite level burst and athleticism, like you just said, in his lower body, that's why he practiced so hard. That's why he was so in tune to the film, because, that's, we talk about it here all the time. Coach Day says it. That's talent. That's really God-given. What he's built a great job of is his discipline and his skill. And so when you compound those with the talent and the feet that he has, that's why his ball is climbing so fast and he's playing so well, because he owns that as well as anyone I've been around. And he knows how to work and improve it.
So you mentioned he started off as guard, he transitioned to tackle, and the Cardinals, of course, they see him as the franchise left tackle, into the next decade plus. But could you see a scenario? I mean, we break it down. They've got a couple veterans in DJ Humphries and Kelvin Beachum. Would he have any problem coming in and kicking butt and taking names at left guard this first year while he gets, his bearings about him?
I think I heard in his press conference, he said he plays safety if he wants to. And I mean, he wasn't joking. Now he probably thinks he can. He can't. He's athletic, but not that athletic. But and that's how he was the number 1 tackle in the country when they came out of high school. But his best way to get on the field earliest was to move the guard, and he embraced that. And so, that's what you'll see. So whatever he can do to help the organization win, no. I mean, does he want to do that? Probably not. But if that's his way to get on the field and help the team, then yeah, he would do that.
Justin Frye, you've been so generous with your time. You're out on the recruiting trail. It just never stops for you guys there at Ohio State. But I got to ask this last question before we get you out of here. I mean, so impressive is Paris Johnson Jr. We know that he speaks Mandarin, like the size, the skill set. What is one thing that surprised you about Paris Johnson? And do you have any great Paris Johnson stories that you could share with our audience?
In the green room, personal was really cool. Obviously you put a lot of time in with these kids. And so my family was back home. I have 4 young kids. My daughter is obsessed with him, and he's been great with Zoe. They come to practice. So she had text back and forth. They had saw, the walk up and the green carpet. And so she texted me, she's 11. And she's like, Daddy, I saw Paris on TV. Tell him, we love him. We're thinking about him. And so I went up to him and said, hey, Zoe just sent you. And he took my phone out of my hand and took an Ussie and sent it back. And my phone was like, all right, big Zoe, can't wait. And in the biggest moment of his life, circling back to worry about my kids, I thought that was pretty cool. And then spending just that time there with him and his family and Monica and Willie and all the people through his life that had touched him to that point. And him just being in the moment. Once again, it wasn't scripted. It's not theatrical for him. It's genuinely who this guy is. He's a great, lovable, compassionate kid that's really good at football, and in that order. And you guys are getting a hell of a player and a hell of a guy. So I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to watch John Gaines, who snuck in there, a guy coached at UCLA too. So
nice.
I told those guys, I said, you guys can share some old Coach Frye stories and, bash me a little bit if you need to.
We just need Justin to have all the tailor-made prospects come to Arizona that he's coached. We were banging the drum, Justin, real quick, all Friday night, because we'd heard the Cardinals really liked Luke Whippler too. And so we're just draft the whole Ohio State offensive line. And so we're fortunate you get to watch Luke Whippler in your state of Ohio, and he's going to stick with the Browns. But we wanted him in Arizona because we know he's buddies with Paris.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate the time. Like I said, I'm out on the road right now looking for the next Paris Johnson, and they're few and far between. So I'm planes, trains, and automobiles till we get one. So appreciate
Man,
it, guys.
even if it's Gaines, man, I mean, it's the most talented athletic guard in the entire class. I didn't even should have done my homework a little bit better. Very impressive. Congratulations, Justin. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully talk to you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And I wish I knew it because I wanted to learn more. If there was one player in this draft class from Monti Ossenfort, I felt like I wanted to know more about it. It was John Gaines. And we find out at the tail end of that interview with Justin Frye, the associate offensive head coach there in Columbus for the Ohio State Buckeyes, now coaching now with Paris Johnson, who plays for the Arizona Cardinals, wearing their uniforms, basically.
We've interviewed a lot of celebrities on this show. We've been fortunate. Frank Caliendo and Patrick Peterson and Pat McAfee. I get most nervous talking to coaches because I just hold them in such high regard because look at that man, what he produced over the weekend. He's the run game coordinator, offensive line coach. Oh, I saw it in the chat. Don't even put your finger up. I know what's coming. I know what's going down the pipeline. Let me get my thought out here real quick. Thank you, Justin Frye, for allowing the Arizona Cardinals to reap the benefits of your coaching to get Paris Johnson Jr. to Arizona. Now let's, as we transition, Bo, from a premium position to a not premium position, why don't you break some news for us on the podcast?
Okay. Well, I mean, if you're listening and following along to this podcast, we've braced for this very moment. We've braced for this impact. According to Ian Rappaport, friend of the program at Rap Sheet, the Arizona Cardinals are not picking up the fifth-year option of former number 8 overall pick linebacker Isaiah Simmons. He enters a contract year with a chance to make it count in a big season for Coach Jonathan Gannon. Johnny sipping from his cup like he's Kermit with the tea.
No, I like Isaiah Simmons, the person. I wish him well.
Let's qualify that because we love watching Isaiah Simmons make big plays for this team. No doubt about it.
Justin Frye on the recruiting trail calls him from his car to meet with us. We tried to coordinate 2 very calculated interviews with Isaiah Simmons, and he blew us off. No, this was telegraphed. We telegraphed it. If you're scoring at home, Owen Pompo, that's your new starting linebacker. Papo in 2024. Hey, it's 72 hours later. Give me some grace. $12.5 million. He doesn't have a position. They don't know what he plays. He will go into free agency next year, and he will get a 1-year loaded prove-it contract. And people are just going to continue to try to figure out what to do with him. But I think, and you can disagree with me, his career with the Cardinals is over after 2023. This is it. They're not gonna franchise tag a linebacker. They're not gonna extend him. Look at all these teams. Patrick Queen declined, right? All these linebackers declined. Unless you have, and of course it's the fucking Niners. Unless you have Fred Warner, right? 3rd round pick, making good money, not great money. It's like you're not doing it. So, Simmons, go out there and kick butt this year for the Cardinals. I hope that you do, but this made all the sense in the world. It would not have made sense and would not have been on brand with anything they did this offseason if they would have picked up his option.
Yeah, it's just something. It doesn't match up what the philosophy is organizationally, right? Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, the type of and caliber of linebackers that Jonathan Gannon coached up. It was an undrafted free agent in TJ Edwards that he turned into a guy who got the bag this offseason from the Bears. It was a guy in Kazir White that they brought in on not a huge lucrative contract that isn't 6'3", 240 pounds and ran a 4.3. He's fast. He's a speedy, undersized linebacker that knows what his role is on any given down. Jonathan Gannon's going to have a plan for Isaiah Simmons this season, no doubt about it. And I'm sure he's going to want to tap into and help Isaiah Simmons tap into that skill set. But as far as picking up the tab on a 5th-year option for over $12.5 million or franchise, I'll tell you right now, they're not picking up a $20 million franchise tag bill. That's for sure. What's going to happen is Isaiah Simmons can play himself into a decent deal next offseason, and it will benefit both sides. The Cardinals will get good football on their defense, and Isaiah Simmons could hopefully get a good contract next offseason. It's unfortunate. And it's not Isaiah Simmons' fault that Steve Keim couldn't help himself by taking him 8th overall in the 2020 draft, because he saw this uber versatile, the Swiss Army knife that he had no clue how to deploy. It's like if Johnny got his chance to hang out with a 10. He just wouldn't know what to do.
Hey, that's inappropriate. Happily married man. No. It's like if I went and bought like a really nice, if I went to Home Depot and somebody was trying to help me buy tools, it's like me, like Ron Swanson passes me. He's like, I know more than you. Right. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing with, with a set of pliers or whatever. That's the appropriate comparison. Come on now. All right. Isaiah Simmons, though, he's not a 10. You know what he is? He's not a 10. He's not a 12. He's not a $12.5 million player. He's a year-to-year guy. He's a G-A-J-A-G. He's just a guy. Screwed that up.
Wow.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy right now. He's just a guy because his position, which he doesn't have one, but if he did, are the two of the most devalued positions in the NFL. Inside backer, safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's reaching running back level. It really is.
You want him on your team, okay? And I think that's what everybody's like confused about. Of course, the Cardinals would like him on a rookie deal. They would love for him to be productive. You would prefer to take his caliber of player in the third or fourth round, right? And so that's why it's frustrating when you're like, okay, we want him around, he's productive, and yeah, we can use him all over the place. I'm sure when they tell you they're excited to use him, that's not bullshit. That's not a lie. They are excited to use him. But they're not excited that he was mismanaged and he has no years left on his remaining rookie deal, and they're not going to pay him $12.5. He's not a $12.5 million player. Come on. He can't stop the run. He can't rush the passer from the edge. He's got no bend, right? He got smoked. Like, Travis Kelce smokes everybody. I get that. But, like, he can't cover tight ends, or at least Vance Joseph didn't think so. He's putting him in the slot. I trust Jonathan Gannon with DBs maybe more than anybody in the NFL. That's his bread and butter. So if he thinks that Isaiah Simmons should play safety, then you need to play him at safety this year. I don't want to get into camp and then having him like when Bo's there and they're covering camp, he's with this position group and this one and this one. Put him in a spot. Look at his skill set. You've had all year, all offseason to watch tape. Pick a role. Pick a role and say, we're going to put you here. We think you're going to have robust statistics and work your ass off and then go make a bunch of money next spring. But unless that position is putting your hand in the ground, Hassan Reddick style, or a 4-3 outside linebacker racking up 12 sacks, then they're not going to pay you. Because even if you excel, the positions that you excel at are not worth paying in today's NFL. I'm sorry. They're paying Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker already. It's not going to work out. And they don't want to pay their linebackers. Kazir White is making what, $2 million, $3 million a year on a 2-year deal. That's what they want to do. That's how they want to operate. I'm not taking a victory.
It's the new philosophy, and it's not on Simmons, it falls on the shoulders of the previous regime and the missteps that they took previously in drafting and their philosophy, which was flawed as far as building teams and not emphasizing premium positions, because when you're a jack of all trades and not a master of none, you don't have a premium position. And the best thing that could happen for Isaiah Simmons this season is for teams next offseason to be able to identify where he excels, where you can plug him into your defense and where he can make plays for you. The team that's willing to pay him the money. And, does this pretty much just solidify that this is going to end in divorce? Probably, right? Even if it's like Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rallis, they were able to unlock the beast or unlock, his superpowers. There's still going to be that resentment. Like, well, you guys didn't believe in me enough to pick up my 5th-year option. I mean, that's fine. That's just how it goes. But it doesn't mean that they can't be amicable by when it's all said and done.
Isaiah Simmons' best shot. And then again, I am not putting this on Isaiah Simmons. He was drafted by a dysfunctional GM and I think a very stubborn defensive coordinator. It was the perfect storm, right? Had he gone to somewhere where they had competent people in place and a plan, he might have succeeded in having a contract already. It's a big reason why Hassan Reddick was allowed to leave, because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And so he goes and he has a great year in Carolina and he goes to Philadelphia and he's one of the top 5 to 7 pass rushers in the NFL. And Kimes having him play stand-up inside linebacker. So I'm sure there's a big part of Isaiah Simmons like, hey guys, I kicked ass at Clemson. I was the Butkus Award winner. Everybody wanted a piece of my shit. And I went to your franchise and you screwed around with my development. I'm going to come and kick ass this year. And I hope that he does. Yeah. But we're just at a point now where there's no going back.
And there it is in the chat. Brian saying comp pick for Simmons. Yeah, I think that's what you can hope becomes that's best case scenario at this point, right? I mean, as far as him becoming and being one of your top players on your defense, like each and every down, relying on him to make a big play, I think that ship has sailed, right? And that it could, come to a little bit of a reality in his final year. But as far as what he could give you in return now going forward, it's probably a comp pick, right?
I think that's best case. Yeah, like
best case.
A fourth or a fifth round comp pick. And we were talking, Bo, about his value Friday night. It's like, what off air or maybe on air? What would you give for a trade for Isaiah Simmons, right? And I think the most
it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
it'd be like a fourth round pick.
Right.
I think
it would have to be somebody that has a big old half glass full glass of Isaiah Simmons. Like, hey, I can do it. I can turn. And there will be, confident DCs out there that say, hey, I can turn this guy into the star that he was at Clemson. But, it just show me the case study. Show me the evidence that show, there's like one uber versatile player on a defense in for the Chargers that you can say, okay, there's one guy, and then that they don't exist around the league. It's not consistent on every NFL roster because it's tough because of what you're doing and trying to drink from a fire hose as far as learning 6 different positions, which that was the number his first year in the league. Like, in coming to Isaiah Simmons' rescue here is he had to learn 6 different positions after being drafted in a pandemic season. I mean, it was absurd what the Cardinals had expectations for him, given where he was coming from and when he was coming from and what he was given as far as coaching staff. It's ridiculous.
There's also whispers that he just isn't a football addict, a football junkie. Not that he doesn't love football, but I mean, you've heard those whispers before. Those are out there. The people have been putting that out there for about 2 years plus. And then Vance Joseph benching him after the first game against Travis Kelce. Vance Joseph had all offseason to formulate a game plan against Patrick Mahomes with Isaiah Simmons, and he set him up for failure. And there
remember
were people
week 1 of his career?
Yeah. Isaiah Simmons,
the 49ers.
Yep.
Yes.
Raheem Mostert ran a slant against Isaiah Simmons, beat him for a touchdown. Vance Joseph literally benched him for like the next 6 weeks, right? And he would get on the field and he would flash. The Cardinals screwed this up. Like they screwed up a lot of stuff in the Keim Kingsbury era. But he was, you know what he is, Bo? He's an unfortunate casualty of the new regime. The fact that they're not picking
No.
You don't think so?
He's a casualty of the old regime. It's left over. He's paying for the sins of the previous regime, no doubt about it.
Well, Gannon and company are. Ossenfort and company are.
Yeah, Gannon and Ossenfort are just operating at what they view as a successful way to run the football business side or business side of football operations. I mean, you just can't. It wouldn't be in their best interest to invest in a guy that at $12.5 million for a 5th year that this new regime wants to invest significantly less, a quarter of that in what they're going to pay linebackers.
All right, let me ask you this. You classify Isaiah Simmons as a bust. Is Isaiah Simmons a bust in your opinion?
I don't think so. I don't. I mean, look at his numbers. His numbers were pretty gaudy last year. I mean, 4 sacks, 2 picks, close to 100 tackles. He had 100 tackles the previous season. But to say that he merited the 8th overall pick, and when you look at who was on the board, when you see guys, I mean, just look at this draft class. I mean, there was a ton of 5th-year options that were no-brainers, right? Like a Tristan Wirfs. You had CeeDee Lamb you had Justin Jefferson in the same class. It's tough. It's a big, jagged pill to swallow. But as far as, is he a bust? No, he's not a bust by any stretch.
I think I would disagree. I think because of where he was drafted.
You're a harsh grader.
No, I'm not. Again, if he's the 71st
overall pick as far as this is concerned.
I'm going to tell you if he's what's the kid out of Stanford they just took. If he's the 94th overall pick or if he's an early date, we have a different conversation. That's a productive player. You're the 8th overall pick. You have to live up to being drafted over about 99% of your peers. CeeDee Lamb went after you. Tristan, you better produce. Only 7 guys were taken in front of you. He is a bust, in my opinion. If you're getting benched, albeit by Vance Joseph, in your 3rd year, right? And I know we had one coordinator.
That's not on.
You're putting all that on Vance Joseph.
He got benched because he got torched by Travis Kelce. That list is very long.
But it's Buda Baker and Zayvon Collins would die for Vance Joseph. They wanted him to be their next head coach.
Is very unfair. I think it's
I think unfair. There are different levels.
He played every single game. He's never missed a game. 16, 17 games played in all 3 of his professional seasons.
Blaine is correct. Put Blaine's comment up one more time. There are differentiating busts. Blaine's comment hit the nail of the head. Where is it? Let's find it, Sean, real quick. Here it is. 8th overall and not picking up the option, you're a bust. That's it. You're a bust.
That's because the organization was a bust. That's not Isaiah Simmons' fault. He had
Thank you, Sly.
105 tackles and then 99
tackles as a statistic to me on this podcast
last year.
You're insulting the audience when you throw tackles out.
No, I'm not. To say there's different tiers of bust, no, you're either a bust or you're not. And his numbers tell me otherwise. His circumstances also tell me otherwise.
I want him to turn his career around, and if he balls out for Jonathan Gannon,
like what do you need him to do?
I'm not.
What do you want him to do?
Okay, you take a linebacker top 10.
Yeah,
you got to be Luke Kuechly-esque. You got to be that good, right?
Otherwise, you're a bust. If you're borderline Hall of Famer.
You're not getting your 5th-year option picked up, and you're the 8th overall pick. You're a motherfucking bust. It's not like you can't play in the NFL. Solomon Thomas was 3rd overall to San Francisco, whatever it was that year behind Mitch Trubisky, right? Didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. He's an NFL player. He got another contract, right? But you're just not going to pay him money. You're a top 10 pick, and you don't even get – I can understand maybe like get your 5th-year option picked up, but then you can't figure out the contract, then somebody walks, right? You're the 8th overall pick, and they won't commit $12.5 million, position aside. You were not warranted that pick, which means you're a bust. Where do you think Isaiah Simmons should be drafted?
And I don't disagree with the organization's decision to decline it.
If they did a redraft of that draft, and we'd have to look at it, where do you think it's appropriate for Isaiah Simmons to be picked?
Probably late 20s.
You think he's still a first-round pick?
Well,
think Isaiah Simmons, if they redrafted that draft,
yeah,
you think Isaiah Simmons would still go in the first round? I don't think. No way! No way!
You're screaming right now.
You're out of your fucking mind if you think Isaiah Simmons is going in the first round. Because if he did, they would have worked all the
pedestal that you're putting on these. Look, do I wish he had a better career? Absolutely. No doubt about it. But you don't spend the 8th overall pick on a versatile, maybe inside linebacker / safety to play him at slot corner. I just disagree wholeheartedly to label him a bust just because of how things transpired and that he was a guy that played on this defense. He played significant snaps, even despite the stupid use of him and how they deployed him at the beginning of the season. It's not his fault that Vance Joseph played him 30 snaps after a horrible season opening performance against Travis Kelce and the Chiefs. And then to turn around and make a game-changing – he had 4 game-changing plays. You can't say – for the people that have been labeled true busts in this game, in the history of this game, none of them made 4 game-changing plays in a season.
So I've done a little research on the side.
To say he's disappointing, fine. To say he's a complete bust is unfair.
So there have been a couple redrafts of this draft online.
Okay.
PFF did one last summer. NBC Sports did one within the last calendar year. So both of them happened in 2022. Before this season, before his game changing, neither one of those sites had Isaiah Simmons being redrafted in the first round.
Okay. Good for those draft nerds.
All right. Before Bo and I kill each other, I want to tell you about our friends at BetMGM. You can't bet on Isaiah Simmons' next team, but you can sure as hell bet on our precious Phoenix Suns. It's my pick of the week. Give me the Suns money line, baby, plus 175, maybe 135. It's plus money. Go get it. Go get it right now. We've teamed up with our friends at BetMGM this season. We're using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. We've got a special offer for our listeners. Listen up right now. You can dive in using that bonus code PHNX. There are a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. And again, use that sweet bonus code PHNX. I hope you had an opportunity to dabble in the NFL draft on BetMGM last week. A lot of people made some money. Will Anderson Jr. would have paid you out at the third overall pick at plus money. I hope people jumped on that. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to jump on the PHNX Suns Away playoff watch parties. Hello, presented by Neutral. Happy hour pricing, $6 Rally the Valley margaritas. I'm going to tell you right now, our friends at BetMGM's sportsbook on the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium have the best drink specials I have ever seen. Their drink specials they're elite. They're with our friends at Four Peaks. Those are like the two co-champion of drink specials that I've seen in the Valley. In the meantime, check out the show notes for details. And now listen to our guy Shane talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
The temperatures over the weekend reached triple digits. Summer is here. Are you ready to unveil that beach bod? Well, Manscaped is here to ensure your body is ready for that this season, right? You got the full body of grooming and hygiene products. Don't be the guy at the beach that keeps his shirt on, but doesn't keep his shirt on. And the old Austin Powers chest hair. You don't want to go out there looking like a Wookiee. You know, those winter man tits that you got going on.
Jesus Christ.
What? You don't want the mitts. You don't want those going on. Make sure they're hairless if you got them, because you look a little sleeker out there. You'll move better through the water. And go to manscaped.com and get 20% off with free shipping using the code PHNX. We've been using Manscaped. We love Manscaped.
Lawnmower 4.0. I use it everywhere.
Yeah, and it gives you the confidence that you got the right trim wherever it is on your body that you're trying to maintain, and make sure that you're presentable and you don't look like a woolly mammoth out there poolside. You don't want that. You need to get in with Manscaped. They got the Performance Package 4.0. That kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 4.0. It's waterproof, cordless body trimmer, and it has a ton from other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. Don't want to miss out on what's going on. They got the Crop Preserver. They got the Weed Whacker 2.0. Other double entendres going on. Shears 2.0 nail kit. Don't miss out. 20% off plus free shipping with the code PHNX at manscaped.com. Plus 20% off free shipping with the code PHNX at manscaped.com. Trim your chesticles and with the besticles. That's manscaped.com.
Oh, man. T-Dactyl. They don't call him Landing Strip Johnny for no reason.
Oh, God.
that is something. These comments, I'm into.
That is crazy right now. The chat is just a true testament to how polarizing the Isaiah Simmons conversation is. Because everybody sees how talented Isaiah Simmons is. 6'4", 240, 4.39 40-yard dash, seemingly has all the tools, but then it just doesn't translate on game day. Lil Dreezy, drop it in. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Simmons, the player isn't a bust, but at 8th overall is. Somebody in the chat said it. Disappointing, but to call it a bust, I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a fun label, and I'm sure if you asked Isaiah Simmons, he would say, "Hell no, I'm not a bust." I think certain people have different connotations. They use labels that they call people a bust. Like not all busts are equal. Like Isaiah Simmons is not Jamarcus Russell, right? But I think, okay. And again, apologies for the spirited debate, unless you were into that, which of course, this is what this podcast does.
Look, I mean, I think that it represents each side of, because when you talk about Isaiah Simmons, anytime I tweeted out today, kind of an updated the top 10 who had their options picked up and who hadn't, right?
Yeah.
And there were two in the top 10 that there was no decision made on it. It was Andrew Thomas, the tackle from the Giants, who I would guess he's going to get his picked up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There was Isaiah Simmons at 8. You see a couple guys who are no longer with their organizations any longer, like CJ Henderson, who went right behind him.
Yeah, he's bad. He's been bad.
You had Chase Young, which was kind of a surprising one, but at least Washington has the advantage to where if he makes a second Pro Bowl after coming back from his knee injury, his fifth-year option number goes up to about $19 million. The franchise tag for a defensive end is about $19 million. So they don't have to make a decision right now. It might, like, the optics might not look good because they declined it right away, but they have the ability to retain him, where Cardinals didn't necessarily had that. And they're showing you which positions they're investing in long-term. And a fringe linebacker / safety who comes up a little bit, who plays slot corner, isn't something that they value to make upwards of $12.5 million a season.
Yeah, again, I think they'd want him on the team if they could, but obviously not at anywhere near that price tag. Lil KZ, $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Lil KZ. Trade Simmons for draft picks next year. I will make the case that if you have somebody interested, and I don't care about cap relief or whatever, let's say this. Let's say that this kid out of Auburn comes in and he looks great. And it's like, how did this kid fall to the 5th round? He's got elite speed. He's played linebacker. He fits exactly what they want to do. Maybe you're just like, hey, Isaiah, there are some teams that are interested. You know, we're shipping you out to the Vegas Raiders, or we're shipping you out to the Chargers or somebody like that. I definitely think they'd entertain that, because, Bo, we don't even know what position he's going to play. I think anybody right now that can say that they know where Isaiah Simmons is going to play is BS. Don't buy it until this man to my right is at practice and is telling everybody, like he did last year, they had moved Simmons with the DBs and everybody said, no, he's a linebacker. No, that's what he was practicing. And now with Zaven Collins at outside linebacker, we don't know what he's going to play until we know definitively. We can't have any kind of take or projection on him for this year.
I mean, I see you take a 3rd and a 4th for Simmons. I think anybody would. I mean, but keep in mind, Jalen Ramsey fetched the 3rd round pick. And I know he's at the little bit longer in the tooth, but he plays a more premium position than what position does Isaiah Simmons set. It really would have to come down to a team that views him as somebody that they could harness and put and deploy, and that he would know how to make plays down in and down out. And it's like the one place you could say, hey, maybe he could go to like Denver. He's like, he doesn't want to go play for VJ again. Like, where would it make sense? He would have to go start over new. Maybe he goes, maybe Houston views him, like with Matt Burke being the defensive line coach for the Cardinals last year, and now's the DC there. Some sort of familiarity.
Yeah, I've got a comp that is not apples to oranges, but I think it makes sense. Remember Kyle Van Noy was a linebacker for the Lions, was a true linebacker, but they didn't know what to do with him. And he went, I think, like 40th overall. He was a 2nd round pick, right? And he, of course, he busted in Detroit because they didn't know what to do with him. The Patriots traded for him for like a 6th and a 7th. And he went there and he was fantastic, right? And they found this kind of like tweener hybrid role for him, defensive end, stand-up linebacker, Brewski-esque. Somebody would have to look at Simmons, and you'd have to pay a little bit more and say, we think we have the perfect. It's like what Gannon is going to do with BJ Ojulari. It's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that player. Yeah, this is the exact position that he's going to play in my defense. Thank you, Monti Ossenfort. Somebody else would have to look at Isaiah Simmons and say, this is. I've watched hours upon hours of Isaiah Simmons tape. This is what he's going to play here. This is worth giving up a pick, but for the salary that Isaiah Simmons has, even this year, I mean, what is he making? $5-6 million a year? That's not chump change. That's starter money. Some would argue that's starter plus money, right? Not Pro Bowl level, but you're creeping up into 8 figures then. Who's trading for that? Nobody's trading for that. That's the problem. So I think he's on the team this year.
Yeah, it'd have to be a Hail Mary for somebody to sweep in and pick him up. Seahawks not picking up the 5th-year option on Jordan Brooks, but he suffered an ACL injury.
Go look at if you have time, the season finale when the Cardinals blew the division in 2021.
Yeah.
Look at the linebacker play. Tell me who was better that day, Jordan Brooks or Isaiah Simmons.
He's getting his 5th-year option declined too.
There you go.
I don't know if that has to do with his injury, and they think that they can maybe negotiate more of a multi-year extension or what it might be.
I think it's this period is just difficult because we felt like, as little KZ puts a $2 super chat, like trade Simmons for Byron Murphy, and that's like tongue in cheek, but it's like Byron Murphy and Isaiah Simmons and Zach Allen and Budda Baker and Jalen, these guys are supposed to be part of like the next era. Like they should just be now getting into their peaks and kicking ass for this franchise. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They're on their way out. Right. And that's a hard reality where the franchise and the organization has promoted these guys as the next era. And the new people have come in, rightfully so, and says like, we don't want them. You have done things wrong.
Yeah.
We like them as people and like they'd be fine on the team, but we're not paying them the money you owe them. Zach Allen should have been playing much more than he did. Byron Murphy lost snaps in year 2. He played less snaps in year 2 than he did in year 1.
Yeah.
So they screwed up this development. So that's where I will give you the ultimate benefit of the doubt with Simmons, because we had a track record with all these other players. So he's just going to go in line. What Vance Joseph did to this franchise and Steve Keim, but Vance with these players is inconsequential. I mean, to me, it's one of the most under the radar gross negligence of player development we've seen in the NFL.
Agreed. And it kind of reminds you ever like talk to somebody who's maybe like a nutritionist and you walk them through and you're embarrassed to do it of your own diet.
Right.
Like that's what's going on. Like
when I pound these teas from Dutch Bros. When you ever talk to your nutritionist and you tell them that you drink large green teas to get ready for college,
you stop giving Dutch Bros just a free plug.
Promote us.
Dutch Bros. Gallon. You've got a gallon of some red drink from Dutch Bros. That some like high school co-ed got this far from your face and was screaming, "How's your day?"
Hey, you're looking cute.
No, but it's like Monti Ossenfort's the nutritionist, and he's like, "Okay, well, what'd you have for breakfast?" He's like, "I had a donut." And so, what'd you have for lunch? I went to McDonald's and got a Big Mac and fries. It's like, my God, no wonder you're not healthy. You eat trash. Right. And it's just like, and he's clearing out the pantry. He's taking it all out. And now it's like, let me take you to a dark place. Can we do a dark place hypothetical?
I live in a dark place every day.
Can we go to one of the darkest of all realities?
Yeah.
If Steve Keim is still the general manager of this team right now, what happens on this day?
He gets his option picked up.
I think you're right.
Vance Joseph is likely fired. I think Vance Joseph.
He's making it rain. He's $12.5 million. Here you go, Isaiah.
Waiter, baby. They put him on all the promos. I'll never forget Michael Bidwell after their rookie year, Byron Murphy and Isaiah Simmons the next year. He's like, we got stars all over this defense. And he named Byron Murphy and Isaiah Simmons. And like, Michael, those guys played 20% of the snaps this year. Isaiah Simmons doesn't have a position. What are you talking about? Oh, man, that's great. Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. But before
can I just ask one more question?
Yes.
As we sit here a year from today.
Yeah.
Zaven Collins. The deadline's going to be for Collins.
God. Oh, don't make me do that. If he's
you've got your way too early 2024 drafts. We're going to do our mock draft here at the end of this thing. But
if he's not playing inside linebacker, if his position is pass rusher, then I think he just, unless he has a really good season, which, I mean, if Zaven Collins can turn around and have double-digit sacks, God bless you, man. I'm going to say it's a big no on Zaven Collins.
It's another one of those things, cleaning out the pantry from.
When does it stop hurting? When do I not get to be hurt anymore?
BJ Ujulari becomes a dog, and you got Garrett Williams in the secondary, who's going to be starting some games for this team in the future. And you start to see these premium positions that you can draft, develop, and then extend. And when you're spending all that draft capital in 2024, oh man, yeah. Let's get into the Hopkins conversation.
All right, hang on. I got to tell people are asking me why I didn't dabble at Circle K today. Guys, I rotate Circle K. I get my coffee from Circle K in the morning, then I support other local businesses here in the Copa. But I support Circle K on the reg. I was there last night. I was there this morning. I'm probably going to go there later tonight after my son's flag football game. I love Circle K. Convenience at a convenient price. We're so excited to partner with our friends at Circle K. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, beer, snack selections, premium gas. I mean, like everywhere I go, gas is back up to like $6 a gallon. Not at Circle K, baby. Check them out. They got a ton of promotional deals right now to bring that sucker down. Right. And in the meantime, while you're filling up, pop inside Polar Pops, iced coffee, 12 packs of beer, Red Bull, Monster energy drinks, and more. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff right now. You can do this, by the way, which I highly recommend. Text PHNX to 31310. That's 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free off of their 32-ounce Polar Pops. I'm addicted to iced tea, so I'm just dabbling. I'm double fisting 2 at a time with the Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store locator to find a Circle K nearest to you, Bo.
Johnny mentioned his son flag football. Immediately, just league that kid right now.
He's a much better athlete than his father.
I'm picking up his 5th-year option right now.
He knows his position, at least. He has a position.
You're going to go from being out there, sweating out on the sidelines, spiking your clipboard, getting in the faces of officials, yelling at children because they're not picking up their assignment. And then you're going to go home to your house, your more furniture, you're going to plop down, you're going to turn on that Suns game and hopefully watch a dub, but in your more furniture. And take advantage already. They've got the Memorial Day sale starting to fire up. You can save up to 50% on all their furniture for your home. Get the best for your living room, your dining room, your office, your kids' room, your entertainment room at More Furniture. They got that white glove delivery. Order what you want, then they're going to deliver it for you. They're going to unpackage it, get rid of all that crap that goes with the packaging. I had to put together, we'll call it a Swedish furniture company gear this weekend. My wife made us go out there. It was damn near impossible.
Oh, no.
Not with More Furniture's white glove delivery. They put it together for you and put it exactly where you want. It wasn't my call. It was my wife's. And sometimes you just have to say, yes, ma'am, and do it. And that's what I did. But if I'm making any decisions as far as the furniture goes, morefurniture.com. morfurniture.com.
From one Clemson bust to a former Clemson wide receiver who's definitely not a bust, Isaiah Simmons to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, who we thought for many, many months would not be on the team, would be traded because everybody said the Cardinals wanted to trade him, including our friend Jordan Schultz, friend of the program from January, into draft weekend, came and went. Monti Ossenfort, man of his word, couldn't find a trade partner. He's not going to give him away. DeAndre Hopkins is on the team, and Bo, so much so that he took to the Instagram streets this morning on his story and basically came out and said, I never basically wanted to be traded. Who says I want to leave? I'm here. I'm working. And,
we have that clip.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Awesome.
I see everybody tell me to stay. Who said I want to go? Who said I wanted to leave? I'm out here working, baby.
I love it. You always like to see that. I mean, that's what makes DHop great. You love DHop, and he's a consummate professional, and you can go off of what's been reported. And I think there's a lot of truth to what's been reported as far as the Cardinals have been trying to find a suitor for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I don't think they anticipated it. The market just pretty much plummeting. I mean, you take into the variables that he's going to be 31 this season. The amount of money is the biggest sticking point that he's going to make, probably around $19 million. A team would have to be able to take on cap-wise. And then the fact that he's played in half the games, whether it's injury or suspension. But DeAndre Hopkins, we do know that when he's healthy and when he's available, he's a dog still.
I love this comment. Han shot first. DHop has a horrible lie face, but I still love him 100%. I don't hold anything against him. I know there have been other people in this media market that are not happy with DeAndre Hopkins. This podcast is not one of them. This is just a businessman.
Yeah.
And it's like he wanted to go and win. and be paid a premium. And the Cardinals are like, we're rebuilding, so let's try to figure this out. And then it's not the Cardinals' fault that everybody lowballed him. And I think Ossenfort showed you how shrewd he was in the first and second round of the NFL draft. So anybody who thinks they should just take whatever, Ossenfort's not doing that. Somebody goes down in training camp. Somebody goes down at the deadline.
Yeah.
They'll be available to take a phone call, right? But in the meantime, sell those new number 10 jerseys, baby. He's going to be around. I think that to me, Cardinal fans, I think universally want to see this team do well, obviously. But then also, like, we're going to fast forward. It's going to be fun having DHop here. Now, who's going to be throwing to him? That remains to be seen. But when he was on the field last year, he was still one of the best receivers in football. He gave this offense a shot of life. I love watching DHop play. And I think Bo, because of what Ossenfort was able to accomplish with all of the picks accumulated this year and next year, we don't have to sit back and say, oh, they had to stick and pick a 3, so we really could have used an extra third, right? Who cares about, pick 90 whatever so they can take Tank Bigsby when DHop's on the team this year? That's a cool feeling for young people, for older people, for kids to be able to come out and see DHop at State Farm Stadium. That's worth it. And I think they realize that. Like, we're not going to cave to these other teams that want us to just give away an all-pro receiver.
Right. And you were able to accomplish your main goal in accumulating draft capital for the 2024 without having to put, cash in that ticket for DeAndre Hopkins. And it still might, the day still might come. But now let's envision what this offense looks like, right? And this might get a little far-fetched, but you've got Zach Ertz returning from an ACL injury. He also had, I believe, his one of his other ligaments repaired as well, but he said he's eyeing training camp and to be ready week 1. So you can add him back to the tight ends. You've got Trey McBride in year 2 there. You've got James Conner, who's leading the charge as far as this offense goes this offseason. And he's probably playing in the final year as an Arizona Cardinal. And then you've got this wide receiver room that's headlined by DeAndre Hopkins. You've got Hollywood Brown, who's in a contract year. You just added Michael Wilson in the 3rd round. You've got Rondell Moore, a former 2nd rounder, and you've got Greg Dortch. And you add it to your offensive line. What do we think about this offense if Kyler Murray can return in a relatively quick fashion and its ability to put up points?
Well, now you're speaking my language. And also, little KZ $2 super chat. You guys think Kyler's going to start week 1? I don't. But, like, if Kyler does play early and you've got all these weapons at his disposal, they ought to be competitive, right? If Kyler Murray plays and you got DeAndre Hopkins, Greg Dortch, I'm bullish on. I think he's supplanted Rondell Moore. Like, Rondell Moore, get away until you can show that you're healthy. And I know we've had him on the show. Like, you just need to work and play and be healthy. And then we can talk. But then it's like Zach Allen, ass kicker. Trey McBride, year 2, ass kicker, right? Hollywood Brown, contract year. He's coming to everything. He's saying all the right. They have plenty of weapons to start this year. And the problem is, though, Bo, is if you have a quarterback that's ass, that can't distribute, and you can't take advantage of DHop, then that's a problem, right? Your 8 million passes. Jeff Driscoll's out there taking sacks and throwing at hospital balls to Hopkins and company. No one wants to see that. So if that needs to be unavoidable, right? We need to be able, or avoidable. We need to be able to stiff arm that reality. So who knows? I think I'm bullish about the offense right now. I think Drew Petzing is really bright. Everything that I've heard from people I trust, people who text my phone say, watch out, this guy did wonders for Jacoby Brissett. This offense is going to be clean. It's going to be precise. No more of that horizontal screen game crap. We're going north and south. We're going to put your quarterbacks in the best position to succeed, and we're going to throw downfield. And now he's got some bigger targets. So the defense, we know it's got a ways to go because the personnel is not there. The offense, and I'm including the offensive line in this, Bo, should be capable. Should absolutely be capable.
I don't doubt that. I mean, you looked at this draft and there was a couple spots that you thought maybe they could have invested in through the draft, and they decided to go different direction. They didn't take a flyer on a running back, and they didn't take a true center like we thought they might with like a Whippler or a John Michael Schmitz. And it looks like, maybe Yelda Froholt is somebody that they trust coming from Cleveland with Petzing. Maybe he can be the guy in just kind of a bridge to developing a young center, whether it's a Gaines or a Lacita Smith or somebody else. But yeah, this offense has just that. It should put a little threat to opposing defensive coordinators and take away a little bit of their sleep. If it ever gets a chance, it really never got a chance last season to reach full strength. Like we never saw Kyler.
Wouldn't that be
DeAndre
funny if we got it this year when no one expects it?
Hollywood Brown. That would be wild. It would be wild because it'd be tough to account for all those weapons. You think they add a running back, a veteran running back at this point? Like a Kareem Hunt?
I was disappointed they didn't add an interior offensive lineman and a back, but yeah, I mean, just help get somebody to get you through the season. Like I think they look at James and they're like, James, we're paying you $10 million. Like, please stay healthy. But they need a change of pace guy. It's a good weekend for a couple people. Good weekend if your name is Keontae Ingram. Good weekend if your name is Lecky Fotu, right? Good weekend if your name is, what the hell is that center that they signed that I can't pronounce?
Yelda Froholt, man.
Good weekend if your name is Yelda.
On Froholt's
I don't know
name.
if it's ever a good weekend if your name is Yelda, but but that remains to be seen. Bad weekend for Rondell Moore, I would say. Bad weekend for the pass rushers from last year with B.J. Ojulari. You know, we knew they were going to take a tackle. They don't have a bunch of corners. I think just if you're Keontae Ingram, you've got second life, and of course, friend of the program, co-host on PHNX Cardinals, personality, Damian Anderson was the position coach in the offseason, helped Keontae get ready for the NFL draft last year. So we'll have to see what Keontae Ingram looks like this offseason. I want to get to a couple super chats, Bo, and then we'll dive in to put a crescendo on the show with our mock draft. Lil KZ, would you go for Dortch or Moore? Greg Dortch, 100%. Greg Dortch has proven more in just one season than Rondell Moore has in a couple of years. Greg Dortch, tougher, can stay healthy. I think Rondell Moore is more physically gifted, but that doesn't mean anything. What's your best ability? Is it availability? Can you be out there? Can you be there for your teammates? Rondell Moore has not proven he can, and he's torpedoed game plans during the week because he's healthy until Friday, or he's abruptly on, the inactive list on Sunday. That's a gut punch. Whereas Greg Dortch, you can count on every Sunday. Punt returns, kickoff returns. He was fantastic. Had over 100 yards in Mexico City. Play that kid. Play that kid early and often, Bo.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's. And hopefully that draft status doesn't play a big role with this new organization.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either. But I mean, as far as 100-yard gains, Greg Dortch had one last season and Rondell Moore didn't. You look at their careers. I mean, Dortch played in 23 games, and I mean, as far as the snaps he's getting, it's not even close to Rondell Moore's, and you see that the productivity is pretty much on par.
Kev Brooks, $4.99. Thank you so much, Kev, for the super chat. If Monty plays his cards right next draft, we can have 2 firsts for the next 2 to 3 years. Funny you should mention that. Let's get to that via the mock draft simulator. And again, we're not going to go heavy into mock drafts a ton this offseason, but I think, Bo, it's appropriate given the bounty that Monti Ossenfort was able to accumulate.
Yeah, I might do a mock draft. I'm so excited about the 2024 draft every day for the next 364 days.
That's aggressive. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
You might be wondering why the Cardinals have number 1 and Houston has 19. Well, that's not Houston's, that's Cleveland's. So the Cardinals actually hold right now, if you look at this mock draft simulator, the first 2 picks in the 2024 NFL draft. Now, again, not exact science, but according to our friend Peter King at Pro Football, whatever he works for now or something or other, he sourced Pro Football Focus. They ran a bunch of simulations on the 2023 NFL season, said 43% of the time it was the Cardinals and the Texans picking 1-2 in some combination, Bo.
All right. So, yeah, it's 43% of the time, nearly half the time. That's an incredible on-base percentage in baseball. It's an incredible hit rate for the Cardinals to potentially go 1-2. And look, if you're sitting there with 1, I'm going to tell you this right now. What are you laughing so hard at?
This is just a crazy reality that we're doing this mock draft on Monday after the draft, but it
not.
has to be done. It has to be done.
Look, if you are indeed sitting in this situation, this exact situation where let's just say you hold the number 1 overall pick and maybe not even the 2nd overall pick, there's a conversation to be had about the quarterback position.
Yeah, because Kyler Murray makes $50 million. That's where the conversation starts and ends for me.
Yeah.
If you're trying to increase your likelihood of winning a Super Bowl and paying your quarterback no money, I think the choice is simple. Assuming that you could deal, if you have the first overall pick next year, I feel pretty confident in saying like there's a strong chance that they would trade Kyler Murray and take Caleb Williams first overall. Don't you feel that way?
Because the way you look at how they've been maneuvering this offseason, they say that they're going to build their team drafting and developing their roster. So what would be the point in creating so much cap space for the 2024 offseason if you're a draft and develop team? Wouldn't you just wait for another draft to draft those players and then develop them and hopefully sign them to extensions? So what are you creating a big nest egg for potentially? Would it be to pull off a trade where you would have to take on an absorbent amount of dead money? And that's, I think, just to have that option when you have a prospect the caliber of Caleb Williams and what he did at USC this past year in that Heisman winning campaign. I mean, you look at everything that Kyler Murray does, Caleb Williams, who also played at Oklahoma during his college career a little bit and then thrived at USC this past year. He's a 6'3" Kyler Murray.
And again, if the Cardinals are picking like 7 and 9, we're not having this conversation, right? It's just if they get the number 1 overall pick from either Houston or themselves. So
when you're sitting there with 6 day 1 picks, or no, I'm sorry, between day 1 and day 2.
7, I think.
Yeah, 7 between the first and third rounds. You can make a trade if you wanted to, unless some team, if I'm a team and I've got the number 1 pick and I don't have a quarterback, I'm taking Caleb Williams. I don't care what the haul is.
I just don't. Barring like Kyler Murray would have to come back this year, start most of the games. It'd be just the biggest runaway success that they thought they could have with Kyler.
Yeah.
But then if you're doing that, then you're not picking first, right? Unless it's Houston, I guess. It's a very, I would say it's a very slim chance if they have the first overall pick, they're not taking Caleb Williams. Again, that's not an indictment on Kyler Murray at all.
No, not at all.
In any capacity. But it's just, it resets your timeline. And you would get picks for Kyler Murray. I mean, you would go from one of the most incompetent organizations under Keim and Cliff and everything in flux and the house burning to the ground to you would become the belle of the ball.
Now, people are saying that they're going to be hampered by dead cap space. What they would be,
For
what it
1
would
year.
be, if they traded Kyler Murray, if they traded him, it would be $46 million in dead money. If they cut him, if they outright cut him, that's where it's impossible. It's $80+ million. They'd have to figure something out.
And I look at these QB contracts, Bo. There's going to be like 5 more before we even have to entertain that conversation. He's going to be like the 10th paid quarterback in like a week and a half. It's going to be like moving Derek Carr's contract. It's not going to be this robust deal that everybody freaked out about last summer. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Nathan, this is like I said, this is, and Johnny said too, it's not an indictment on Kyler Murray at all. I mean, you've got a generational type prospect at quarterback, and you have the number 1 overall pick. Johnny's already jumping the gun, taking Marvin Harrison.
Does anybody
Jr.
disagree with that?
No, I don't. And you have the business wise, you lock yourself into almost a surefire hit at quarterback that you have controllable at a just a minimal salary for 3 years, because the first year you're picking up the dead money. I mean, the quarterback position, you're investing in that spot year 1 with Caleb Williams. And then the next 3 until you have to sign him to a mega extension, you can get that 5th year option and it's still reasonable relative to quarterbacks. But what are you doing? You're just picking here?
I've taken over this mock draft. Listen,
so
I've made a
if
point.
You get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., you're selling. You got 2 top 10 jersey sales probably right there, and your fan base is electric right now.
I love Kyler Murray. We're a Kyler Murray supportive podcast. Zion Nelson, I don't know who the hell you are, my man.
You're such a jerk for doing that. I wanted to be in that conversation.
No, you can't. You're not allowed. We're taking linemen early and often. Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the Cardinals are going to be more.
You can't even not go rogue in this first mock draft of 2024.
It's very on brand for us. We're very on brand. Listen, we got a lot of time to talk about that. We've lost people I've seen since I've come back from screen sharing.
AZ Cards nerd. I hope you're joking by saying we drafted Clayton Tune, for crying out loud.
The Toon Squad. The Toon Squad on day.
Look, that would be the new nickname for the Cardinals, is the Tune Squad. If they we're all good because we got Tune. We don't need Caleb Williams.
How many teams would pass on Caleb Williams first overall if they had the chance that have a quarterback? I would say 3. Mahomes, if Mahomes tears his ACL, they win one game. Mahomes,
Burrow.
Josh Allen.
Probably. Yeah.
You have a conversation. You probably have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Because the wear and tear is starting the show. Look,
Burrow and
I'm not saying the Cardinals would do this. I'm not saying the Bills would do this. I'm not saying even the Jaguars would do this with Trevor Lawrence, or the Chargers would do that with Justin Herbert.
Spreads,
I think
you are out of your mind if you don't think the Ravens and the Browns.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Browns may not be able to do it just because of the guaranteed money.
We got Sean as producer today. He's got a question for us.
Are you asking this question assuming that something went so horribly wrong the previous year that they had to have gotten the first overall pick?
He tore his ACL in training camp and then they won one game.
Okay, in that case, I don't think anybody asked the question. I think if your quarterback just tore their ACL and you have the first overall draft pick, you draft Caleb Williams first overall. But that's just me.
I don't know why people are so upset with this. When you look at it, Caleb Williams.
It's like this podcast planted the seeds for the Simmons move that happened today.
Yeah.
God, could you think about if we weren't around? That'd be a terrible reality for people. If people weren't prepared for the Simmons move today. It'd be coming out of left field. People are like, what is going on?
What's this super chat? Let's check it out. Jalen Blair is saying the real question is, do you think K1 is good enough to win a Super Bowl?
100%. Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then you keep him and you continue to build around him. Sure. Yeah. And you're going to learn a lot
on your draft picks then.
Because I think if the Cardinals are one, either the Texans have to stink horribly bad or the Cardinals have to stink horribly bad. And if the Cardinals their own pick isn't within striking distance of Caleb Williams, then that's great. Kyler Murray came back from his ACL tear and he was the quarterback that we all thought he was.
Just for giggles, it's going to be hard rooting for the Cardinals to lose games. I'm not built that way. We don't do that here.
No.
But you got to look at the landscape of the roster.
This is going off the simulation from Pro Football Focus. If this scenario presents itself and the Cardinals were bad enough to where their pick was either first or second, and then the Texans were so bad they were either first or second, you have the conversation. You say, hey, if we do this, if the organization moves off of Kyler, who's going to be making 21% of the cap next season at $51 million, then it might make better business sense for the cap going forward to trade him, eat some dead money for a season, and then pick up a guy like Caleb Williams who has a similar skill set, is younger and cheaper. Does anybody have an issue with that?
No. We yelled and screamed at each other in the first segment over Isaiah Simmons. We are lockstep in this.
We're kumbayaing together over.
We are.
Caleb Williams.
We were ready to share another picture with our friends at Four Peaks. Everybody who came out last Thursday, thank you so much for the support. We had a packed house at Four Peaks for our 2023 NFL Draft Party. The Redbird Lager was flowing. We can't wait to be back out at Four Peaks in Tempe. Check them out. They are a staple of the Valley if you have not seen that. If you haven't seen our guy Howard Balzer, he's cranking out articles on the reg at gophnx.com. Slam that promo code Howard, HOWARD. He has got some scoops going on, as well as we've got a fresh new tee. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this at the PHNX merchandise locker. Bird Gang, Bo, Till I Die. Hello, perfect summer tee as we welcome back the Bird Gang. Hashtag Joel, super chat, $1.99. Kyler may not be the same after the ACL tear. No one can definitively say anything. This player is going to be on the team. This player is going to do well. Isaiah Simmons plays this position. I think that's kind of the fun of it. It's like the uncertainty just makes it crazy. We're going to be sitting here, though, Bo. I feel pretty confident in saying this time next year, the roster is going to look completely different.
Yeah, it is. I hope it becomes a moot point to where the Arizona Cardinals, they win enough games to where they're not their own pick in the first round isn't in the conversation for the number one overall. You hope that the Texans lose horribly. They go 0-17 and, that they're able to take that first overall pick and do what they want. If they want to trade down, then do it. get a haul of picks, put themselves in a position to still get a player the caliber of a Marvin Harrison Jr. And then you got the third round pick from Houston. So you're rooting against the Texans to just have a bad season. And anything, if the Cardinals have a good enough season to where their own pick is in that conversation, that means you have less questions about the quarterback and you're more comfortable paying that salary. You can always still restructure Kyler's contract too and save a bunch of money and start to kick that can down the road a little bit. Monty has that ability going forward.
Last super chat of the day, little KZ, $5. You think Kyler will be rusty, but do you think JG will build him up? Well, he already has. They talk every day. He's a Kyler believer.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be great for each other. They drafted Paris Johnson Jr. for a reason. Like, they want Kyler Murray to succeed. Kyler Murray wants Kyler Murray to succeed.
Did you see the Mike Garafolo report?
It was interesting, wasn't it?
So Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, he says he's tight with Paris Johnson Jr. And Paris Johnson Jr. said that in that first meeting with Kyler said he wanted him to play right tackle for him.
Why is that, Bo?
Yeah, who plays right tackle for the Cardinals right now?
The guy who called out Kyler Murray after the season and Kelvin Beachum. Kyler Murray's like, Kelvin, get your ass out of here. Get your ass out of here, Kelvin. I think that, you know what, I'm sure that's just Kyler talking up DJ Humphries. Like, we got to get you a right tackle. Right tackle, my man. Even though Kelvin's been their best tackle. Yeah, Paris Johnson. I'm sorry. Good times. This team never ceases to amaze. Isaiah Simmons, no on the fifth-year option. DeAndre Hopkins back at least temporarily with the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you again, Justin Frye, offensive line coach, run game coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. More Buckeyes on the Cardinals, please. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Hello. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. The PHNX Cardinal podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. We are back. Manana Bo has a chance to chat with JG, Nick Sirianni, and company tomorrow. We're going to have those press conference highlights. We're excited.
Nick Rallis.
Football talk. Nick Rallis. What did I say? Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni.
No, we don't talk about Nick Sirianni in this podcast. Those Eagles taking away our picks. For Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. Like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.